Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Forum's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. It's the calm before the Kentucky Derby storm. Only 3 graded stakes races on tap in North America this weekend. DRF handicapper Mike Beer and I will handicap them all on this program. 2 from Southern California, the Californian and the Santa Barbara, and the first graded stakes race of the year at Woodbine, the Whimsical Stakes. JK's play of the day is a daily double at Santa Anita. David Aragona's Timeform U.S. Spotlight is the Elusive Quality Stakes, race number 9 at Belmont. Of course, we have to talk about the Derby, our Hot Topic segment, Mike Welsh's Kentucky Derby Clocker Report for Thursday. We've got best bets, tourney talk, pedigree picks, and lots more. So let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate with our Hot Topic segment. No hotter topic in the world of thoroughbred racing than the Kentucky Derby. Who's training well? Who's not training well? One guy knows. DRF clocker extraordinaire Mike Welsh on the scene at Churchill Downs. He's been checking out all the comings and goings for the morning workouts. You can find all of Mike Welsh's clocker reports leading up to the Kentucky Derby at video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Forum YouTube channel. There'll be a new one every day. Here's Thursday's Clocker Report.
Mike Welch coming to you from Churchill Downs with the DRF Clocker Report, standing in front of the stall of the star of the day, My Miss Lily. She was the lone worker during the Oaks Derby time period today, the special session. We'll get to her a little bit later. We saw something today we haven't seen in a while around here, sunshine and a fast racetrack after several days of rain, and that racetrack today provided dry land for some of the horses that arrived here late, the Derby horses, none of whom worked today, just routine gallops once again among that group. The Todd Pletcher band, Good Magic for Chad Brown, and Hofsburg for trainer Bill Mott. Hofsburg, Magnum Moon, both on the muscle again, 2 days in a row, both full of energy. Flame Away also, we've seen this from him for the last several days, dropped him down on the rail and was full of himself. 2-minute licking it down the stretch and around the clubhouse turn. The lone Derby worker today actually took place at Palmettos, 1,000 miles from here down in South Florida. Enticed for trainer Kieran McLaughlin. Enticed went in company, 5 furlongs, a minute and a fifth. Was under some pressure to finish. We've seen this from him before. Enticed, obviously a horse that does his best running in the afternoon, not in the morning. Also down there we did have one Oaks worker also for Kieran McLaughlin. Take Charge Paula, continuing the blinker experiment, working 5/8 of a mile in 1:01, and she is going to wear those blinkers for the first time when she runs in the Oaks. And speaking of the Oaks, we do have a special guest today. We mentioned My Miss Lily. My Miss Lily was the lone worker today during the session, and we have her trainer, Mark Hennig, here to talk to us a little bit about one of the key contenders, obviously, in the Oaks. My Miss Lily this morning, an easy half mile, 48 and change. Mark didn't bring any horses with him other than My Miss Lily. Wanted a little company for her and got some help from his buddy Dallas Stewart.
Yeah, Dallas was kind enough to put one out there with us. And we just felt like, today was her first day. She's even been over the track when it was dry, and we talked about it yesterday, and we thought, she might need a little encouragement, to make sure she got in an adequate work. And his rider did a great job with her and did exactly what I asked of him.
You had to really be pleased, though. She couldn't have done it any easier. I mean, it's really a maintenance work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt like we were coming back. That race, she ran hard in the Gazelle. I thought it was the main thing that we needed to do was maintain where we were at and keep her fresh and sharp. And I think we've done that. I thought that she really got over the racetrack well today, as she did over the slop earlier in the week.
Tell us a little bit about this filly. She's obviously gotten a lot better in her last 2 starts. You think it's strictly the added distance? Well,
I feel like a combination of both. I mean, she was lightly raced. She ran 3/4 in January. We kind of were doing the same thing to her that we did to Strike Power, trying to learn on the run and stretching her out with each start. And she's probably pedigree-wise more inclined to accept that, and she's kind of the opposite of him. She was relishing the added distance where he was starting to regress a little bit.
And now it's just waiting it out. The post position draw, though, you can be holding your breath there.
Yeah, I think she'll be fine. Whatever post we get, certainly we'd like to be in the middle and have a decent post going into that first turn, but we'll deal with whatever comes up.
And we talked about the race a little bit earlier. Two obvious favorites in there, but not a lot separating the two favorites and horses like yours and several others. It looks like it could be a pretty wide open race.
Yeah, numbers-wise, I think we fit in, but it's a competitive group, and it's like the Derby when they come together. I mentioned this morning, it's kind of like the melting pot. They come from all over different regions of the country, and we don't know until the smoke clears after the first weekend in May who the best are of their divisions.
Well, certainly my Miss Lily looked good this morning out there on the racetrack. She's looked good all week. We'll monitor her closely as we get closer and closer to the race. On Friday now, a big day, Friday and Saturday both as far as workouts go. All four trainer Todd Pletcher's horses scheduled on Friday, and Saturday 4 or 5 others also slated to work for the Derby as we're about a week out. And again, like I said, we'll have all the best coverage of Derby Oaks right here at drf.com and on DRF Live.
Saturday's DRF Bets Race of the Day is the Grade 2 Californian Stakes at Santa Anita. Let's take a peek at the field. You can access free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. 6-horse field, Mike. We've got 8-5 morning line favorite with the number 4 Dr. Door, who comes out of a common race with the Lieutenant. But there are 2 other horses coming out of a common race. The 6 Prince of Arabia, the 1 Soy Fett. They ran 1-2 in an optional claiming race. Let's look at that race right now, because 2 different kind of trips. Prince of Arabia on the outside, Soy Fett down inside. Do you think Soy Fett was compromised by being locked in behind horses at this juncture?
Yeah, you can see him down there trying to find a way through on the inside. He's not finding it right away, and while he's looking for room, Prince of Arabia's got the clear run down the outside, and he will get the jump on Soy Fett, and he will outfinish Soy Fett. We're looking at the wedding right here. Elmer, are you going to go to the funeral? Prince of Arabia, $70 in this race. You going back?
He paid $70 in this race, but a funny thing, after one of his 2 first races as a 2-year-old, Mike Beer said, that's my Kentucky Derby horse. It's not an easy game. But he finally scored last time out. Do you think Prince of Arabia is finally figuring it out, or, again, a void after that $70 score?
Sounds like my general overall history with picking Derby horses right there. Prince of Arabia fits right into my canon of Derby selections. Yeah, I just couldn't go back to him. I do really feel like, though, this is the right kind of a race maybe to look up a horse like him or Soy Fett, just because, we're both going to get to the favorite here in a minute, Dr. Door. I felt like this was the kind of race where maybe he wins, but I'm not averse to taking a shot against that
horse. You don't like the horses coming out of the common races, however. You could do worse than Curlin Road, who ran in the Pacific Classic and ran 4th with a triple-digit Buyer's speed figure. One race prior to that, he ran in the Cougar, the 2nd handicap at Del Mar. We're going to take a look at that race right now. Always hard to judge these 1.5-mile races, but at least it shows this 1 1/8, while it might press Dr. Door a little bit, it won't press Curlin Road.
Yeah, don't worry about distance with this horse, I guess. This is a fine performance for him. He's obviously improved since Doug O'Neill claimed him. Generally speaking, I sort of feel like the 1.5-mile dirt races in this country are for the slow horses. Kind of feel like maybe Curlin Road's a slow horse, but the distance suits him.
Kind of a tough comeback for Curlin Road last time out off of an elongated layoff to run 1.25 miles in the Grade 1 Big Cap. This is a better spot for him. That being said, the horse to beat is Dr. Door, who's won 3 out of his last 4 starts. As we discussed in the expanded Race of the Day video preview, maybe Dr. Door's a little bit dressed up. Went over a muddy track 2 starts back, catching a stablemate coming off of a long layoff. And then last time out, we're going to watch his race where he took on the Lieutenant, who's also in this field. We thought this day had a gold rail feel to it. Dr. Door set dawdling fractions, saved ground every step, kicked away from a rail skimming the Lieutenant.
Yeah, it's just sort of one of those races where you go back and watch the full replay. I mean, he just had everything his own way in here. He got absolutely loose on the lead. He won a slow pace, and you could see there as he kicked away at the end, he just had plenty left in the stretch because he didn't do anything to exert himself early in the race. It was still a nice race for this horse, though, who just feels like maybe Bob Baffer's got him heading the right way. He's got him improved. He's probably going to get a good trip in this race. Either one of his last two figures makes him really tough in here. I wanted to go against him, Dan. I didn't like the alternatives. I took him on top.
I agree with you. I didn't like the alternatives. I wanted to go against him. I think you're usually supposed to try to bet against those horses that take advantage of great situation and biased racetracks to post big figures. But I think he's getting another great trip here, either sitting second off Soy Fed or more likely going right to the lead. The mile and an eighth is a little bit of a question, but I just think Dr. Dorr in the form he is right now, he is just too tough to ignore, unfortunately, at a short price. Nicole Russo's pedigree pick segment focuses on a stakes race at Churchill Downs, and then Peter Thomas Fornatel's got a lot to talk about in the world of tournaments in this week before the week of the Kentucky Derby. Let's go to those segments right now.
Hey everyone, Nicole Russo coming to you for Out of the Gate, and of course all eyes on Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby, now just over a week away. But the track gets things underway with the Saturday night opening night card featuring the William Walker Stakes, a sprint for 3-year-olds on the turf. Expected to vie for favoritism here are Masked, who has won both his turf starts, and Salmanazar, a stakes winner on the surface. But what I'm interested in is the first-time turf starter Pure Shot for Steve Asmussen, who is geared up and ready for this Churchill meet. Now, this colt, who has won 2 of 3, is by Fast Bullet. That stallion did most of his work on dirt, but he did win his 2 starts on synthetic by a combined 11 lengths. Fast Bullet, who you're watching win the True North, is by Speightstown. Again, most of his top runners on dirt, but he is the sire of turf runners, including Grade 1 winners Seek Again and Force the Path, and graded winning sprinter Bridgetown. Now, Damn Darn That Girl has produced 6 winners, led by stakes winner Dream of Me, has 1 turf winner and 1 synthetic winner. This, the family of turf graded winners Royal Ninja and Federal Trial. I think a lot to like about the way Pure Shot has been training, and maybe some sneaky pedigree clues that he could offer some value in the William Walker Saturday night on the turf.
Peter Thomas Fornatel back with you on Out of the Gate to talk about tournaments once again this week. Big news on the DRF tournament site happening this week. The debut of Saratoga and Del Mar tournaments. Those are annual highlights of the summer, of course, for contest players near and far. A big live money contest happening out at Del Mar. And news about Saratoga this year, instead of the midweek events that they've been running in previous years, there's going to be 2 contests, one on a Friday with a $1,000 buy-in and one on a Saturday with a $2,000 buy-in. For all the details about those, you can check out the DRF tournament site or continue to read my stuff on drf.com or, of course, in the printed pages of Daily Racing Form. 4 qualifiers happening this weekend. Neither have to do with those 2 additions to the inventory. Those contests for now you can get into via feeders, and the qualifiers will be later on this month. But we do have a direct qualifier on Saturday for the World Championship of Handicapping. Players put up $580, and 1 in 10 will win their $5,000 seats to DRF's online championship event, the World Championship of Handicapping. We should get a full field of 200 for the 2nd edition. That will mean a purse of $1 million with no takeout in the finals. You can win your way in, feeders every operating day, and the big qualifier this Saturday. Then on Sunday, opportunities to win into the upcoming Belmont contest. Big money live bank happening at Belmont on June 9th. There's also qualifiers for the Monmouth Pick Your Prize, very powerful, popular event on June 2nd. Powerful and popular. That one attracts a field from around the country. Lots of seats to big, important contests available out of that one. And next up, and the one that has really been attracting a lot of attention on DRF tournaments, the World Horse Players Tour Preakness Contest. We have a direct qualifier for that one on Sunday, looking to be very popular given all the interest in the feeders, and some special news coming down this week about that event. Of course, that's the one that has no entry fee and is going to be filmed as part of a television pilot. And there's a special promotion that players participating in feeders and qualifiers for the World Horse Player Tour events between now and the second to last day of qualifying on May 12th, the person who turns over the most money in those feeders and qualifiers is going to win his or her way in to the May 13th qualifier, what we're calling the big money last chance. In that one, 1,090 gets you in. 1 in 5 entries will win their $5,000 buy-in to the Preakness Day event at Santa Anita. Pretty cool little extra promotion and more reason that folks should be spending time playing on the DRF Tournaments website, which you can find at tournaments.drf.com. Few fun things up on the site now for me. I have a piece about the debut of Del Mar and Saratoga contest. Also a piece that I just put up about whether or not it's worth it to play in tournaments. You can check that out now. Spoiler alert, the answer is a big yes. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. That's all the time I have, but stay tuned for more on Out of the Gate.
You asked, we listened. DRF Plus has more flexible subscription options. Use DRF Plus Basic for exclusive news and analysis, including our DRF Live real-time news feed. Or go deeper with DRF Pro and unlock buyers, closer looks, picks, and reports, including the DRF Daily Game Plan. DRF TV viewers get 50% off the plan of your choice. Use code DRFTV50 at checkout. Learn more about the DRF Plus subscription plans at drf.com/plus.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's take a look at the field for the co-feature at Santa Anita on Saturday. It's the Grade 3 Santa Barbara Stakes for fillies and mares. $100,000 is the purse. For expanded stakes previews of all the graded stakes races, all 3 of them this weekend, plus special stakes action from Belmont, Woodbine, Gulfstream, plus the Weekend Warrior, plus individual Kentucky Derby horse profiles. It's a smorgasbord of racing content. Head on over to video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. The Santa Barbara Stakes Mike Beer more than likely goes through the morning line favorite, trained by who else? Bob Baffert. He's got the number 6 Plain Air. And we're going to take a look at Plain Air's North American debut. This was the Astra Stakes at 1.5 miles, and Tyler Bass took no prisoners.
Yeah, he just put this horse right on the lead. She just sort of powered along up there. Nobody really challenged her in this race, and you can see her had something left through the second turn, held her advantage, and then she's just going to drive to the finish here and hold on relatively easily in this race. There was really never a point where it looked like she wasn't going to get there first. She does get there first. I thought all in all a nice stateside debut.
Certainly, and this horse was a win machine in Italy before coming over to Baffert, and you've got to think she's going to be forwardly placed again. But Richard Baltus has entered 4 against her, including a couple of speeds that may make life difficult for her. A horse that could take advantage of a fast and contested pace is one of Baltus's runners, Pants on Fire.
Yeah, it's just one of those races where it feels like with Baltus entering 4 in this field that he's going to use at least one of them to make sure that Baffert horse doesn't just steal along on the lead in this race. If that happens, maybe Pants on Fire is the right one to sort of take advantage of a nice setup in this race. In her most recent race, which she does eventually get up to win, and we'll show you the replay right now. I mean, she got a really good trip in this race. Rajiv Mirage riding this day, saved all the ground right in behind the leaders. You can see him looking for a place to go here in upper stretch. He's going to find a seam right here, split horses, take the lead. I like how gamely she finishes in this race to hold on at the end. Got to stretch out here to 1.5 miles. That's a little bit of a concern for her, but overall, I feel like she could get a similar trip in Saturday's race that she got right there. And if she finishes like that, maybe she can get it done.
Well, she's certainly versatile. There's no doubt about it. My fear about my top selection in this race, and maybe I'm a little bit loopy, maybe I'm a little bit of a space cadet to pick this horse, is Space Cadet. And I'm worried that maybe she's going to be one of the horses that goes out there and softens up Plain Air. Timeform US doesn't feel that way. Their pace projector has the 5 Space Cadet out there on the early lead. We're going to watch Space Cadet's most recent race, where she's beaten by a horse that's in this field, Lucy D. Lucy D's on the outside. Space Cadet's been on the lead, and they started racing entering the turn, and the fraction sort of got hot on the turn and into the stretch, and Space Cadet gets tired in the last 1/8 of a mile. I've been following Space Cadet's career for a while, however, and I just think that she is at her best at longer distances, and she's going to get an opportunity to go 1.5 miles here. Now, if she's in the role of rabbit, well, she's probably in big trouble. I have a feeling that Plein Air is really not going to go after her that much. If Plein Air isn't hell-bent on going to the lead, this horse is going to be a gigantic price, Space Cadet. And again, I'm not really thrilled with many of the alternatives. I've always had a feeling she's going to be a long-distance horse. She'll be a big price. I'll take a slight stab with Space Cadet and the Santa Barbara Stakes. We'll move from Southern California to beautiful Toronto. The Whimsical Stakes is up next. Let's take a look at the field for Woodbine's first graded stakes race of 2018. It's the Grade 3 Whimsical, going 6 furlongs over the Tapeta surface. For fillies and mares, $125,000 is the purse. Woodbine's very own Jeff Bratt and I talked about this race in the Woodbine Play of the Day, a new segment on video.drf.com and the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. We'll have a Play of the Day for every Woodbine racing day. The horse to beat, Mike, in this race is the number 8 Moonlit Promise, who looked so good over the Tapeta surface last year for Josie Carroll, and she actually has some recency wintering and racing a couple of times at Gulfstream. But let's go back to her most recent Tapeta performance, the Bessarabian Stakes last fall, where she got the jump on Scotty's Model turning into the stretch, and really that was the key to the race.
Yeah, it really was. It made all the difference in the world here. She hits the front here, an upper stretch. Scotty's Model is going to try and rally at the end, and she just misses getting up in this race. Really good performance for Scotty's Model, who came back off of a long layoff last year in the best form of her life and almost got it done here, but Moonlit Promise a little bit too much for her. I think Moonlit Promise is the horse to beat in this race, if only because she gets back to synthetic here. It's her preferred surface. She didn't even run that poorly at Gulfstream in her first start down there and didn't run quite as well last time, but this is her preferred surface.
And she's probably going to get the jump on Scotty's Model. Again, not a lot of speed, save for the rail horse, Jessica Krupnik, a horse that's never tried a synthetic surface. There's a good chance Moonlit Promise will be stalking in second, and a very likely winner at a short price. You are going to take a chance against her, though, with the number 5, that is Let It Ride Mom, who really has done some nice things on synthetic for Marcassi, but doesn't have the recency.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's off of a layoff here, which I guess you don't really love, but it's not like she's going to be some kind of really short price in this race, so I'll ride with the layoff in this race. I just feel like she's a horse a lot like Moonlit Promise, where I just think she's okay on other surfaces. I think she's a better synthetic horse, and I think her overall record bears that out. The last time she was on synthetic here at Woodbine is 2 starts back in her PPs. This is going a little bit longer in a 1 mile and a 16th race, but this is just another good performance. She closes down the outside, really game finish. She's going to get up here at the end of this race to prevail. And her overall record on synthetic, it's just one race after another, just like this one, Dan. She really prefers this kind of surface, I think.
And I don't really think this distance will be any kind of problem for Let It Ride Mom. Maybe she needs a little bit more pace, but she looked really good last year. I'm going with a little bit of a stab in here. That's the number 2 Sky Flower, who is supplemented to this race. She's 15-1 on the morning line. Let's go back to her most recent performance. This was at Turfway Park on the Jeff Ruby Stakes undercard. Sky Flower was 4 wide every step of the way here, and she makes the lead turning into the stretch, and she kind of grinds it out. It was a slow pace that she was on, but she did lose ground. 3 of these horses have come back to earn buyer speed figures of 83 or higher. One of those horses graded stakes placed. She has won 6 of her last 7 starts on a synthetic surface at distances ranging from 5.5 furlongs to 1 mile. So she's versatile. I'm hoping that she doesn't get outrun in the early portion of this race as she cuts back from 1 mile to 6. Sky Flower, she's a bit of a long shot in here, to be sure, but at 15-1, she's been a win machine on a synthetic surface. I'll take a chance with Sky Flower in here. And Mike, I said your horse likes 7. It's 6. Are you worried about the 6?
No, I feel like it's a perfect distance to start her off at, especially off the layoff, and she's shown in the past that she can sprint.
We've still got lots of content here on Out of the Gate. JK's Play of the Day. We're going back to Southern California for a daily double, and then David Aragona's Timeform U.S. Spotlight. This is a war, the elusive quality stakes at Belmont. Then our best bet segment. Let's go to their segments, though, first.
Hey everybody, welcome to JK's Play of the Day. We're right around the corner from Derby, but it's not quite Derby yet. We got a double we're going to play out at Santa Anita, all stakes double starting in race 4, the grade 3 Santa Barbara. This is an interesting race going 1.5 miles. You know, it's tough to find out exactly who's best, but I do know this. It's going to be a jockey's race. Bob Baffert with Plain Air is the 8-5 morning line favorite. I love Bob Baffert. If you listen to the DRF Players podcast, you know that I travel all over the place with my silver wig. However, I don't love Bob on the grass. It's not exactly his strength. Not saying he can't get a horse to win on the grass. However, I think they're always a little bit over bet. In this situation, it's kind of a strung out pace situation. They're going 1.5 miles. I think it's going to be a jockey's race. And because it's a jockey's race, I'm going to take the 3 best grass riders at Santa Anita and hope that they're going to work out a trip for me. They're all sitting on top of capable mounts. I'm going to take the 1 Lucy D with Kent DeSormo, the 2 Pants on Fire with Corey Nakatani, and the 3 Queen Blossom with Flavian Pratt. It's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen as the pace setup in this race going 1.5 miles. However, I do know that those 3 guys are really primed to get me into a great spot and a great position to win. It's a jockey's race. I'm going to take the 3 best jockeys on the grass. Going on to race 5, the second half of my double, this one's a little bit harder for me. If you look at Time Form US, you'll notice that the 1, the 4, and the 2 are forwardly placed types in a race that should favor horses that are on or near the lead. However, Soy Fett, Dr. Door, the Lieutenant, they all seem to be on the right part of the track last time. The inside was good. They were forwardly placed on the inside. I'm going to try to beat those horses, and they should be bet here. I'm going to use 2 horses in here. I'm going to use the 3 Curlin Road, coming from off the pace, but taking a little bit drop in class. Was in the Grade 1 Santa Anita handicap last time on a wet, fast surface. You saw him in the Pacific Classic last year. This horse has a little bit of back class. I'm going to hope that he can get the job done going against some horses that are off of the good part of the track. And then also Prince of Arabia. Closed well last time, and that last race was Soy Fett. Didn't find himself down there on the inside the entire time, but was mostly outside late. So I'm going to upgrade him off of that one. Those 2 should be great prices. Look, I'm nervous about Dr. Door wiring the field. He's a talented type, but I'm going to try to make a little money here with some bigger price horses. Curlin Road and Prince of Arabia, both, in my opinion, will go off higher than 5-1. So I'm going to use the 3 and the 6. Good luck, and we'll see you at Derby.
Hi, everyone. I'm David Aragona with this week's Time Form US Spotlight. It's an exciting time in New York racing as we end the 6-month-long stay at Aqueduct and move over to Belmont Park for the spring-summer meet. And opening weekend kicks off with Saturday's feature race. It's the 7-furlong Elusive Quality Stakes for older horses on the turf. Excited to get back to these longer turf sprints at Belmont Park. Usually, some interesting trips, and they bring a more diverse group of horses, some turning back in distance, others stretching out from shorter races. And that is indeed what we have in this race if we look at the Time Form US preview screen of the entire 10-horse field. One of the first things to notice about this race is that there's a preponderance of runners that have their running styles characterized as being mid-pack closers or plotters, horses that want to be making late runs in their races, and there's just not a lot of early speed in this race. We look at the Time Form US pace projector, and that actually illustrates that because we are predicting a situation favoring horses on or near the lead, and all of the horses that are predicted to be up close are not really front-running types. The only horse that's had success racing on the lead in past races is the number 5 horse Commute, and he is predicted to be up close to the pace in here, but not, predicted to be far in front of the field early. So trips should play a big part in the outcome of this race. That number 5 horse Commute, he is probably going to be the favorite in this race based on his races at Woodbine last year. He got his 2018 campaign off to the start at Keeneland last time out, facing a pretty tough field in the Shakertown, and he's a horse that generally likes to race up closer to the pace in his races, so he was a little outrun early in that race. 5.5 furlongs is probably a bit short for him, but he was running on late at the end of that race. All in all, a good place to start his campaign. Going back to last year, he ran a number of races that would just make him awfully tough in here, topped by that June 3rd effort in the Connaught Cup, where he was run down by Tower of Texas late, but he really opened up in mid-stretch of that race and just put forth a really solid 7-furlong effort, which, gives confidence for his ability to handle the distance today. I think he's the horse to beat, but this race is I don't really want to settle for the favorite. So let's take a look at a few others. A horse that's probably going to attract some support because, he's just so likable is the number 10 horse Carafa, the old New York bred coming back for his 9-year-old campaign. Just a lot to like about this horse. I mean, he seems to show up every single time, whether he's facing New York breds or open company. This is the spot that he's gotten his campaign starting off to in the past couple of seasons. I think he was 5th in this race in 2016 and 2nd in this race last year. 7 furlongs is probably a little bit short of his best distance, and he probably is a horse that needs a little bit of pace to close into, so he's going to be up against it from that sense in this race, but he's one that's he's just always running well, and I think he's one you have to include somewhere in your tickets. For me, though, he's not a horse I really want to use on top in this race. He's more of an underneath use if I'm playing factors or trifectas. Two horses that really most in this. One of them is Ready the number 3 horse. He's spent the majority of his career running on dirt, but let's take a little look back if we scroll down the Timeform USPPs and look at his races in September and October of last year, the last times they ran on turf, and those races are actually okay. The Saratoga race seems disappointing, but if you watch that race, he kind of got an uncomfortable trip in behind horses with nowhere to go coming to the top of the stretch, and it's just not nearly as bad as it seems. And then after that, he went to Belmont and finished second to Disco Partner, and there's really no disgrace in that. He's handled 7 furlongs in the past, and he has tactical speed, which should be a real asset in this race. So Ready for Rye is one that I definitely want to use. At an even bigger price, the horse that actually interests me most in this race, and one that I think is going to offer the best value of all, is the number 6 horse, Great Wide Open. I don't know if this horse is quite good enough to win the race, but there are some interesting things about this horse. His last race at Aqueduct is go watch that race. It's a much better effort than it seems because he broke last and kind of was really hard to settle. His jockey couldn't get a hold of him, and he just ended up rushing up through the entire field, kind of weaving his way through along the rail to ultimately get up into 3rd place by the time they hit the backstretch. That was a race that kind of fell apart at the end. It was really dominated by closers, so him making that early move into the pace, it really hindered his chances, and all things considered, he didn't run that badly to only lose the race by 5 lengths. He actually ran in this race last year and finished a pretty close 4th that day after kind of, getting caught in behind horses early. He couldn't really quicken at the end, but he ran a respectable race that day. All in all, he's run decently well when he's able to get a comfortable trip, either racing on the lead or in the clear. I see no reason why Manny Franco wouldn't just send him to the lead in here because he's a horse that is hard to settle, so just kind of let him roll and see how far he can take them. Again, don't know if he's good enough to win the race, but he's going to offer value, and I think he's going to get the right trip in this race. So I'm going to take a shot with Long Shot, Great Wide Open, definitely using with Ready for Rye, and the 2 shorter prices, Carafa and Commute. So that's the Elusive Quality Stakes, the 9th race at Belmont Park on Saturday. Now let's send it back to Dan in the studio.
Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Mike Beer, NYRA analyst. You're going to Belmont Park.
Yeah, race number 1 at Belmont on Saturday. We won't waste any time, and we'll try and get Chad Brown's Abbreviate to score again here back at Belmont Park. I think the real key to this horse is just really the distance. They cut her all the way back to 6 furlongs last time at Aqueduct. I thought she ran fine, but I really feel like the 6 is a little short for her. She gets to go 7 in this race. The last time she went 7 furlongs on turf at Belmont Park, it was this race right here we're going to show you. This feels like it's the perfect distance for her, Dan. She's had a good trip in this race, but you can just see her coming up on the outside here. She takes this race over with no problem at all, and she just sort of finishes it off under strong handling. I like this distance for her. She lands in a race here where there's a pretty heavy favorite on the morning line who has more speed than Abbreviate does, and she's dropping out of a bunch of stakes races, but I think this is the distance that Abbreviate wants. I think she has some real ability, and I think this is the right spot for her on Saturday.
I'll try Belmont Park as well a little bit later in the card. Race 8, number 8, that's Serratalto going out for trainer H. James Bond. The combination of blinkers on and a gelding process has resulted in 2 wins for Serratalto, including this race most recently. I know Mike liked him in the paper on February the 3rd, where he's had a really nice trip in behind horses, but he was making a pretty big step up in class from the State-Bred 1X to the State-Bred 2X. He angles to the outside, and once Dylan Davis cracks him right-handed, he just goes right by this pace setter very easily, finishes it off to the tune of a 90 Beyer speed figure. He's going to face open horses for the first time. I don't think there's a ton of speed in this race, however, and I think Serratalto has the tactical speed and a good outside post to work out a nice trip. He's in raging form. He is coming off a little bit of a layoff, and that's some sort of a concern because James Bond's had trouble keeping this horse sound. He's 4 years old with only 7 lifetime starts, but he's 6-1, I believe, on David Aragona's morning line, and that's plenty of value for Serratalto, my best bet on the Saturday card. You're going to want to stay with video.drf.com all week Kentucky Derby week. Not only will we have 2 out of the gates, a Kentucky Oaks one and a Kentucky Derby segment, but we'll have expanded stakes previews for all of the graded races on the Oaks undercard, including the Oaks, and of course all of the graded stakes races on the Derby card, including the Run for the Roses. It's video.drf.com and the Daily Racing Formal YouTube channel. All that content, Mike Welsh Clocker reports, and lots more. We'll see you next week. Best of luck on your horses break out of the gate.